Sacrifice Horizon. Director Cassandra Novak rubbed her tired eyes as she studied the anomalous signal pattern on her holographic display. After 30 hours without sleep, the blue glow of the screen was starting to induce a headache, but she couldn't pull herself away. Something wasn't right about this signal. Run the analysis again, she instructed the Earth Defense Network's AI system. Apply the new deep space protocols. Analysis complete, responded the neutral voice of EDN Prime. Signal contained structured data patterns consistent with artificial origin. Confidence level, 99.7%. Novak sat up straighter, her exhaustion momentarily forgotten. After decades of searching the cosmos for signs of intelligent life, humanity had collected nothing but ambiguous radio waves and false positives. This was different. Contact the Security Council, she said. Priority Alpha. Within an hour, representatives from the United Earth government were assembled in the virtual conference room. Novak's holographic avatar stood before them, presenting her findings. The signal originates from the Tau Ceti system, she explained. It contains mathematical sequences that couldn't occur naturally. We're dealing with an advanced civilization, and they're deliberately reaching out. Have you responded? Asked Premier Okonkwo, her expression guarded. Not yet. Protocol dictates Security Council approval before first contact initiatives. A new avatar materialized in the conference room, a tall man with a weathered face and military bearing. Commander Julian Reeves, head of Earth's Defense Forces, wasted no time with pleasantries. We should proceed with extreme caution, he said. If they can send signals across 12 light-years, their technology far exceeds our own. Or they've simply been in it longer, countered Dr. Victor Ewan, the Council's science advisor. Technological development isn't necessarily linear across species. The debate continued for hours, but in the end, curiosity and hope prevailed over caution. Earth would respond. 3 months later, everything had changed. The Meridian Collective, as they called themselves, had sent increasingly complex messages, eventually establishing real-time communication through what they described as quantum entanglement nodes. Their representative, a being called Kelthir, spoke perfect English through their translation interface. We have observed your civilization for decades, Kelthir explained during their first visual contact. Your resilience is admirable. Your potential, unlimited. We wish to help you achieve it. The Meridians appeared humanoid but with elongated limbs and iridescent skin that shifted colors subtly as they spoke. Their technology seemed miraculous, clean energy sources, advanced medical techniques, faster-than-light travel. They offered to share it all in exchange for cultural exchange and mining rights to Earth's asteroid belt. World leaders eagerly accepted. Commander Reeves was not convinced. They're offering too much for too little, he told Novak as they walked through the underground complex of the Earth Defense Network headquarters. No advanced civilization gives away technology without ulterior motives. The Council believes the Meridians see potential in humanity as galactic partners, Novak replied, though her own doubts had been growing. Something about the translation of the Meridian messages didn't align with their original signal patterns. Partners. Reeves scoffed. More likely they see us as useful pawns. Or resources. I need evidence, not suspicion, Novak said. Reeves stopped walking and faced her directly. That's why I've authorized Protocol Safeguard. Novak inhaled sharply. That's a doomsday scenario. The Council never approved. The military contingency plans don't require Council approval, Reeves interrupted. Earth has faced extinction-level threats before from our own kind. Now we're dealing with an unknown species with vastly superior technology. We need to be prepared. Protocol Safeguard was the most classified defense initiative in human history, a network of quantum displacement devices buried deep within Earth's crust. If activated, they would remove the planet from normal space-time, taking with it any invading force. A last resort that had never been intended for use. The evacuation infrastructure isn't complete, Novak argued. We lose billions. Which is why we pray we never need it, Reeves said. But the colony ships are being prepared discreetly. Just in case. The Meridian delegation arrived on Earth with much fanfare 3 weeks later. Their ships, elegant crystalline structures that seemed to bend light around them, landed in designated areas around the globe. The visitors brought gifts, medical devices that could cure previously terminal diseases, energy modules that could power entire cities without pollution, and data crystals containing scientific knowledge beyond human understanding. Dr. Victor Ewan was assigned to the scientific exchange team working with the Meridians. His laboratory in Geneva became a hub of frenetic activity as researchers from around the world gathered to study the alien technology. These energy conversion principles would have taken us centuries to discover independently, Ewan told his colleagues as they examined a Meridian power module. The applications are endless. But as Ewan delved deeper into the Meridian technologies, he began noticing inconsistencies. The power requirements for the devices were exponentially higher than necessary for their stated purposes. Hidden components served no apparent function, and certain materials in the devices matched nothing in Earth's periodic table. Late one night, Ewan made a breakthrough that turned his excitement to dread. The Meridian translation devices contained components that could, with minimal modification, generate targeted electromagnetic pulses capable of disabling Earth's defense systems. He immediately encrypted his findings and sent them to Novak and Reeves. Novak stood in the observation room of the Geneva Exchange Center, watching the Meridian ambassador Kelther address a group of world leaders. The alien's skin rippled with patterns of blue and gold as it spoke of a new era of prosperity for Earth. Her neural implant pinged Ewan's encrypted message. As she processed the information, her blood ran cold. Every instinct told her they had been deceived. "Director Novak," Kelther said, noticing her in the back of the room. "Will you join us? We were discussing the implementation schedule for the atmospheric purification systems." Novak forced a smile and approached. "Ambassador, I was hoping to speak with you privately about some technical questions our scientists have encountered." Kelther's colors shifted slightly, a reaction Novak had learned to interpret as surprise or perhaps discomfort. "Of course. After this session concludes." That meeting never happened. As Novak left the chamber to contact Reeves, her neural implant buzzed with emergency alerts. Meridian ships were deploying across Earth's orbit, far more than the diplomatic fleet that had been expected. Their crystalline structures were transforming, revealing weapons arrays and deployment bays. "EDN Prime, global defense status," she commanded. Multiple defense grid failures occurring simultaneously, the AI responded. Orbital platforms reporting system intrusions. Meridian vessels deploying smaller craft toward major population centers. Novak ran to the secure communications room, sealing the door behind her. "Connect me to Commander Reeves." Authorization Sierra November 937. Reeves' grim face appeared on the screen. "You've seen the reports?" "It's happening," she confirmed. "The Meridians are making their move." Reeves nodded. "I'm initiating evacuation protocols. Colony ships are preparing for immediate departure. We need to buy them time." "And protocol safeguard?" "The activation sequence is prepared," Reeves said. "But we need to get as many people off-planet as possible first." The next 12 hours were chaos. Meridian forces descended on Earth with terrifying efficiency. Their weapons targeted military installations first, then communication hubs and power grids. Cities went dark one by one. The secret evacuation plan that Reeves had set in motion months earlier now became humanity's only hope. Massive colony ships, hidden in underground facilities and lunar bases, began loading civilians according to pre-established rosters. Not everyone could be saved. The ships could only carry a fraction of Earth's population. Dr. Ewan coordinated from the Geneva laboratory, using his knowledge of Meridian technology to create temporary countermeasures that disrupted their communications. This gave evacuation teams precious additional hours. "The Meridians are searching for something," Ewan reported to Novak. "Their attack patterns suggest they're hunting for specific locations, likely resources they detected from orbit." From the command center beneath Mount Rainier, Novak and Reeves monitored the global situation as it deteriorated. The bunker shook with distant impacts as Meridian forces targeted nearby military installations. Colony ship Prometheus reports successful launch, announced an operator. "Artemis and Phoenix are next in the queue." "Evacuation progress?" Reeves asked. "Approaching 60% of capacity targets," came the response. "But Meridian forces are closing in on the European and Asian evacuation centers." Novak studied the tactical display. "We need to trigger a diversion. Direct all remaining defense satellites to target their command ships." The order was given, and Earth's orbital defenses, what remained of them, concentrated fire on the largest Meridian vessels. The aliens, momentarily surprised by the coordinated attack, redirected their forces. "That bought us some time," Reeves said. "But not much." The evacuation continued through the night. As dawn broke over North America, The command center received word that all accessible colony ships had launched. Nearly 2 billion humans had escaped Earth, far more than they had dared hope, but still less than a quarter of the global population. "It's time," Reeves said quietly. "We can't wait any longer." Novak nodded, her face ashen. "Begin protocol safeguard activation sequence." Throughout Earth's crust, the quantum displacement devices hummed to life. Designed by the finest minds of humanity over decades of secret development, they would create a cascading effect that would remove Earth from normal space-time, placing it and anything on its surface into a parallel dimension. "All personnel to evacuation shuttles," Reeves ordered. "We have 30 minutes before displacement begins." As the command center staff rushed to the waiting shuttles, Novak remained at her console. "Director, we need to go," Reeves urged. "Not yet," she replied, fingers flying across the interface. "I'm downloading the complete Meridian language and technology database. We can't lose this information. It might be our only advantage." A violent explosion rocked the facility. Dust and concrete fragments rained down from the ceiling. "They found us," Reeves said. "We're out of time." Novak grabbed the data crystal as it ejected from the console. "Got it. Let's go." They raced through trembling corridors toward the last shuttle. Behind them, Meridian breach teams were cutting through the facility's outer defenses. As their shuttle lifted off, Novak looked back at the only home humanity had ever known. The surface of Earth was already beginning to shimmer with quantum distortions as Protocol Safeguard activated. "What have we done?" she whispered. "What we had to," Reeves answered. "Earth was already lost. At least this way, the Meridians don't get what they came for." The shuttle accelerated away from the planet, joining the exodus of the final evacuation wave. Through the viewport, they watched as Earth seemed to fold in upon itself, ripples of distorted space-time spreading across its surface. Then, in a final flash of light that momentarily outshone the sun, Earth disappeared from normal space, taking with it the invading Meridian forces and whatever secrets they had sought. Humanity was now homeless, but not extinct. And as their shuttle docked with the waiting colony ship, Novak clutched the data crystal containing Meridian secrets, knowing it might hold the key to humanity's survival in a suddenly much more dangerous universe. Retribution. Exodus Legacy. The refugee fleet drifted through the darkness of deep space, a collection of ships never designed to travel together. Colony vessels meant for systematic settlement now served as the fragile lifeboats of humanity. 3 months had passed since Earth's displacement, and the initial shock had given way to the grim business of survival. On the command deck of the Athena, the largest colony ship and de facto headquarters of the fleet, Colony Administrator Alara Kwan reviewed the latest resource allocation reports. Her silver-streaked hair was pulled back in a tight bun, and the lines around her eyes had deepened considerably since the exodus began. "Water recycling is at maximum capacity," she told the assembled council of ship captains. "And hydroponics can't keep pace with our population needs. We need to establish a permanent settlement soon. The Centauri system is still 3 weeks away," Captain Nikolai Volkov of the Hermes responded. "And we don't know if the Meridians have forces there." "We can't keep drifting," Kwan insisted. "Our ships weren't designed for extended deep space travel. Systems are failing faster than we can repair them." The discussion continued, their voices echoing in the repurposed cargo bay now serving as the council chamber. Disagreements about destination, leadership structure, and resource distribution had plagued the fleet since their hasty departure. 17 billion humans reduced to less than 2 billion survivors, crammed into vessels that groaned under the strain. Kwan often found herself wondering if Commander Reeves and Director Novak had anticipated the challenges of post-Earth survival. Both had perished when their shuttle was struck by Meridian weapons fired during the final evacuation wave. Their ship had made it to the Athena, but they hadn't survived the journey. Their loss left a vacuum in leadership that the hastily assembled colonial administration struggled to fill. After the council meeting adjourned, Kwan made her way through the crowded corridors to the engineering section. People pressed against the walls to let her pass, offering respectful nods or desperate pleas that she pretended not to hear. There was nothing more she could give them. No more space, no more rations, no more certainty. The engineering bay was a cacophony of activity. Teams worked around the clock to maintain life support systems and repair structural damage. In the center of this organized chaos stood Tomas Hernandez, hunched over a workstation surrounded by salvaged equipment. "Any progress?" Kwan asked. Hernandez looked up, dark circles under his eyes betraying his exhaustion. "At 28, He had been a promising quantum communications specialist at the Earth Defense Network. Now he was humanity's best hope for understanding what had happened to their home planet. "I've isolated the quantum signature of the displacement field," he said, gesturing to the chaotic data patterns on his screen. "Earth didn't just disappear. It exists in a parallel dimension, just slightly out of phase with our reality." "Can we reach it? Bring it back?" Quan asked, trying to keep the desperate hope from her voice. Hernandez shook his head. "Not with our current technology. But I might be able to establish communication. With Earth? With other survivors? Possibly." He ran a hand through his unkempt hair. "The quantum entanglement nodes the Meridians gave us. They operate on principles similar to the displacement technology. If I can recalibrate them." "Do whatever you need," Quan said. "Any resources, any personnel. This is priority one." In the displaced Earth, reality itself had become unstable. Quantum fluctuations rippled across the landscape, altering matter and energy in unpredictable ways. Cities stood frozen in time one moment, then crumbled to dust the next, only to reassemble in impossible configurations. In what had once been Geneva, Meridian scientist Nexar picked through the ruins of the exchange center. Unlike the warrior caste of his species, his pale green skin lacked the iridescent patterns that signaled aggression. His six-fingered hands moved delicately through the debris, searching for salvageable human technology. "Found anything useful?" asked Meridian Commander Zir, his skin pulsing with angry red patterns. "Nothing yet," Nexar replied. "The quantum distortions are corrupting all electronic data storage." Zir made a sound of disgust. "The High Council demands answers. How did these primitives develop displacement technology? Our scientists believed such capabilities were centuries beyond them." Nexar remained silent. He had warned against the invasion, had argued that humans possessed unexpected adaptability and ingenuity. But the Resource Extraction Directive had overruled all caution. The Meridian homeworld was dying, its core destabilizing after millennia of advanced energy production. Earth's unique mineral composition had offered salvation until the humans had somehow trapped them in this dimensional prison. "We detected fluctuations in the quantum barrier," Nexar said instead. "There might be a way to send a signal through." "To call for rescue?" Zir asked eagerly. Perhaps Nexar lied. In truth, he hoped to warn the human survivors. The remaining Meridian fleet would be hunting them, and without understanding the full capabilities of their own displacement technology, the humans would be defenseless. On the Athena, Hernandez's team had worked for weeks without rest. Their makeshift laboratory had expanded to consume half the engineering bay, much to the frustration of the maintenance crews. "I've got something," called out Dr. Layla Okafor, Hernandez's chief assistant. A signal penetrating the quantum barrier. Hernandez rushed to her station, examining the readings. "It's using the same frequency pattern as the displacement field, but modulated. Someone's trying to communicate." Within hours, they had isolated the signal and begun decoding it. To everyone's shock, it contained recognizable patterns, fragments of Earth Defense Network protocols interspersed with unknown sequences. "Someone survived on Earth," Hernandez breathed. "And they're reaching out." When Quan arrived, Hernandez was already preparing a response signal. "We don't know who's sending this," she cautioned. "It could be a Meridian trap." "The signal contains EDN authentication codes," Hernandez explained. "Codes only a handful of people knew, and it's coming from the quantum signature of displaced Earth." "Can you establish two-way communication?" "I think so, but it won't be stable, and we'll only have minutes at best." Quan nodded. "Do it." The communication array hummed as Hernandez initiated the quantum link. Static filled the speakers, then resolved into a distorted but recognizable voice. "Repeat. This is Director Novak of Earth Defense Network. Is anyone receiving?" Quan gasped. "Cassandra? You're alive. Alara? Thank God." Novak's voice crackled through layers of quantum interference. "Listen carefully, we don't have much time. Earth is trapped in a dimensional pocket, but the displacement is unstable. The Meridians, some of them survived too. What do they want?" Quan asked. "What they always wanted, our resources. But we've learned more. Their homeworld is dying, that's why they came." And static overwhelmed her voice momentarily. "Second Fleet. They're coming for the colonies." Hernandez frantically adjusted settings, trying to maintain the connection. "Director, what about Earth? Can we reverse the displacement?" "Possibly," Novak replied, her voice fading. Working with Meridian scientist. Nexar. He's helping. Displacement technology can be recalibrated. The signal dissolved into meaningless noise. Hernandez tried for hours to re-establish contact, but the quantum window had closed. A second fleet, Quan said grimly, and we have no defenses. In the following weeks, the refugee fleet accelerated their plans for settlement. The Centauri system was abandoned as a destination too close to known Meridian space. Instead, they pushed further into the unexplored regions of the Sagittarius Arm, eventually discovering a habitable world orbiting a stable yellow star. They named it Haven. While settlement teams began the process of establishing humanity's new home, Quan assembled a defense council. With the knowledge that a Meridian fleet was hunting them, they could no longer focus solely on survival. They needed to prepare for war. Former military personnel from Earth's various nations were identified and recruited. Engineers repurposed colony construction equipment to build defensive installations. Hernandez's team worked feverishly to develop countermeasures against Meridian technology based on Dr. Ewan's research and the data Crystal Novak had saved. 6 months after the first landing on Haven, long-range sensors detected the approaching Meridian fleet. 27 vessels, reported Captain Volkov, now serving as Haven's defense coordinator. Configuration matches what we know of Meridian warships. How long do we have? Quan asked. At their current speed, 3 days. Quan stared at the tactical display. Haven had 12 improvised defense satellites and a handful of colony ships converted to military use. It wouldn't be enough. Administrator, a communications officer interrupted. We're receiving a signal on the quantum frequency. Moments later, Novak's voice filled the command center again, clearer this time. Alara, can you hear me? We hear you, Cassandra. The Meridian fleet has found us. I know. We've been monitoring them through quantum echoes. Listen carefully. Nexar and I have developed a plan. What followed was a detailed explanation of Meridian tactical weaknesses and a daring strategy that might save Haven. The Meridian's crystalline ships, for all their advanced technology, were vulnerable to specific resonance frequencies that could disrupt their quantum-based power systems. It's a one-shot opportunity, Novak explained. Once they realize what's happening, they'll adapt. And Earth? Quan asked. Any progress on reversing the displacement? There was a long pause. Theoretically possible, Novak finally said, but it would require energy we don't have access to here. The quantum instabilities are worsening. Time doesn't flow consistently anymore. What's been months for you has been years for us in some regions of Earth, mere days in others. We'll find a way to bring you home, Quan promised. No, Novak's voice was firm. Focus on defending Haven. Earth is changed. Even if you could bring it back, it wouldn't be the home you remember. The quantum distortions have altered it too profoundly. After the communication ended, Quan convened the Defense Council to implement Novak's strategy. Hernandez's team worked frantically to modify Haven's defensive systems according to the specifications provided. This could work, he told Quan as they calibrated the main defense array. But even if we defeat this fleet, there will be others. One battle at a time, Quan replied. First we survive, then we build. When the Meridian fleet arrived, they found Haven apparently defenseless. The converted colony ships hung in orbit, appearing damaged and abandoned. The planet's surface showed signs of hasty settlement, but no significant defensive capabilities. Meridian Commander Kelzer, cousin to the ambassador who had led the first contact mission, observed the human colony with contempt. Pitiful, he said to his bridge officers. They flee across the stars only to die here. Shall we begin bombardment? His weapons officer asked. No. The High Council wants prisoners for study. Prepare ground forces. Kelzer had no intention of repeating his cousin's mistake. Underestimating human ingenuity had cost the First Fleet everything. As the Meridian ships moved into formation around Haven, Hernandez activated the resonance transmitters hidden aboard the seemingly abandoned colony ships. The carefully calibrated frequencies propagated through space, invisible and initially harmless. In the Haven Command Center, Quan watched the tactical display with growing tension. Are they detecting the resonance? No change in their approach, Volkov reported. They're launching landing craft. The Meridian vessels continued their advance, descending toward Haven's atmosphere. When 2/3 of their fleet had committed to the landing approach, Hernandez activated the second phase of the attack. Buried beneath Haven's surface, massive power inductors surged to life, amplifying the resonance frequencies 1,000-fold. The effect was immediate and devastating. The crystalline structures of the Meridian ships began to vibrate, their elegant forms suddenly rigid and brittle. "It's working," Volkov exclaimed. "Their shields are failing." On his flagship, Commander Kelzer watched in horror as his fleet's systems failed simultaneously. "What is happening?" he demanded. His science officer's explanation was cut short as the flagship's crystal matrix shattered, venting atmosphere into space. Similar scenes played out across the Meridian fleet as their vessels either shattered or lost power, tumbling helplessly through space. Haven's converted colony ships, previously appearing damaged, roared to life and moved to intercept the crippled Meridian vessels. The few enemy ships that had remained outside the resonance field attempted to flee, but the modified human vessels pursued relentlessly. In the aftermath, 7 Meridian ships had been destroyed, 15 captured, and 5 had escaped. Among the prisoners was a high-ranking science officer who, facing interrogation, revealed a crucial piece of information. The escaping ships wouldn't be able to return to Meridian space directly. They would need to stop at a forward base to repair their damaged systems. "We can track them," Hernandez realized. "Find their base and eliminate their foothold in this sector." "And then?" Quan asked. "Then we build. We learn. We adapt." Hernandez gestured to the captured Meridian vessels. "Their technology is ours now. And with it, we might eventually find a way to restore Earth." 10 years passed. Haven flourished, growing from a desperate settlement to the capital of a new human civilization. The technology salvaged from captured Meridian ships accelerated human development by centuries. Additional colony worlds were established, creating a network of human settlements throughout the sector. Quan, now in her 60s and serving as Chancellor of the Haven Confederation, stood before the memorial spire in the center of Haven City. The towering monument contained a quantum resonator that maintained intermittent contact with displaced Earth. "Chancellor," Hernandez approached, now the head of Haven's scientific directorate. "The ceremony is about to begin." Today marked the 10th anniversary of Earth's displacement, a solemn remembrance of humanity's lost home and the billions who couldn't be saved. But it was also a celebration of survival and renewal. "Any word from Director Novak?" Quan asked. Hernandez shook his head. "No communication for 3 months now. The quantum instabilities on Earth have worsened. Time dilation effects are increasing." They stood in silence for a moment, contemplating the monument. Inside the spire, a holographic representation of Earth rotated slowly, not as it had been, but as their quantum sensors detected it now, a shimmering, distorted version of their former home. "We received word from the Orion expedition," Hernandez said after a moment. "They've made contact with another species, the Arcadians. Apparently, the Meridians have been raiding their worlds too." "Potential allies?" "Potentially. Their technology is different from ours or the Meridians. They've expressed interest in a diplomatic summit." Quan nodded thoughtfully. Humanity was no longer alone and vulnerable. They had carved out their place among the stars, forged from the crucible of loss and betrayal. The memorial ceremony began at sunset. Thousands gathered in the plaza as Quan addressed them from the base of the spire. 10 years ago, we lost our home," she began. "Earth made the ultimate sacrifice so that we might survive. We carry its legacy with us, not just in our memories, but in our determination to build a civilization worthy of that sacrifice." As she spoke, the spire illuminated from within, projecting a massive hologram of Earth visible throughout the city. But this year, something was different. The hologram flickered, stabilized, and then resolved into a clearer image than they had ever achieved before. A murmur ran through the crowd. The quantum distortions that had plagued their sensors for a decade seemed temporarily clearer. And then, a voice, distorted but recognizable, emanated from the spire's communication array. "Haven, this is Director Novak. Earth stabilizing. Nexar's solution. Working." The crowd fell silent as Novak's broken message continued. "Dimensional reintegration, possible, but different approach, not returning Earth. Bringing ourselves out." Hernandez rushed to the control panel at the base of the spire, frantically adjusting settings to strengthen the signal. "What does she mean?" Quan asked. "Not returning Earth? I think." Hernandez stared at the readings in astonishment. "I think they're trying to bring the survivors out of the displacement field without reversing Earth's displacement." The hologram shifted again, showing new details. Massive structures had been built on Earth's altered surface, installations unlike anything human or Meridian. Years inside, decades of work. Novak's voice continued. Adapted to quantum environment. Learn to harness it. Quan and Hernandez exchanged shocked glances. After 10 years in normal space, they had presumed the Earth survivors were struggling to survive in an increasingly unstable environment. Instead, it seemed they had thrived, adapted, and developed technologies beyond anything the Haven scientists had imagined. A month later, the Haven fleet arrived at the designated coordinates. For hours, they waited, sensors scanning empty space. Then, without warning, reality itself seemed to fold. A shimmering distortion appeared, expanding into a swirling portal of quantum energy. From within emerged a single ship, unlike any vessel human or Meridian had ever constructed. It appeared to be partially out of phase with normal space, its structure shifting and flowing like liquid crystal. Haven Fleet, this is Director Cassandra Novak of Earth Remnant, came the transmission. Permission to come aboard and discuss the future of humanity's 2 branches? As arrangements were made for the historic meeting, Quan stood at the viewport of her flagship, staring at the impossible vessel. Earth was gone, yet its people had survived, transformed by their experiences in ways she could barely comprehend. 2 paths forward, she murmured. Those who fled to the stars, and those who adapted to a new reality. Humanity had done more than survive the Meridian betrayal. They had emerged stronger, more resilient, and now potentially unified across dimensions. The sacrifice of Earth had not been the end of human history, but rather the beginning of a new chapter, one written across both normal space and the quantum realm. As Novak's shuttle docked with Quan's flagship, representatives of Earth's 2 destinies prepared to reunite, carrying with them the promise of a future neither could have imagined when they parted a decade before. A future where humanity would never again be vulnerable to extinction from a single catastrophe, spread as they now were across planets, stars, and dimensions. The final protocol had not been humanity's end. It had been their transcendence.